Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm Louise. In this video I'm going to be reviewing The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. Alex Michaelides. I assume it's Greek, and I'm not very familiar with Greek, so my mispronunciation is my own fault, and I do apologize. Anyways, The Silent Patient. A really quick rundown is that a woman named Alicia, who's a famous painter, she killed her husband and has since been completely silent and has been put into, I think it's an insane asylum where people are criminally insane, dangerously criminally insane for her protection and for other people's protection. And our main character, Theo, who's our point of view character, is her psychoanalyst. I can't remember, it's like psychotherapist. There's just a lot about some of the psychobabble that just didn't really sit right with me, but I'll get to that in a minute. And basically what Theo is trying to do is he's trying to help Alicia come to terms with what happened and also try and get to the bottom of what happened. I have a problem with all of that, and I'll get to that in a minute too. Overall, I thought that this book was pretty meh. It was okay. It was really average. I think it's been a few days since I finished it, and honestly, I don't remember hardly anything. I'm just glad that I wrote down all of my thoughts pretty much as soon as I finished reading it. None of the characters really stood out from one another. Not even, our point of view character Theo or the silent patient herself, Alicia. Nobody stood out. Nobody was particularly interesting or were particularly special in any way. There's a lot of psychological stuff that I felt was really kind of hand-waved and not really researched thoroughly enough. But honestly, I don't have any expertise in the field, so I can't really say one way or the other. It just feels like it isn't quite correct. I did have two kind of nitpicks about this. So the first one is something that is there from the very beginning. Alicia apparently shoots her husband several times in the face with a gun. But the thing is that this is London. This is more or less modern day London. The fact that they have any sort of firearm is ridiculous. Like, this is modern day London, and that really, really bothered me. Now, I don't know British law. It's explained later on that they had it because Alicia's husband Gabriel had inherited it from his father. And I don't know British law, but it still seems kind of weird to me that the British government would have allowed Gabriel to keep his firearm, especially when Alicia's mental health went on record as being not great. It's just kind of weird. It's something that I feel nitpicky about because it doesn't feel realistic to me that there was a firearm in the house. The other thing that I feel really nitpicky about was the very not British Theo, who's supposed to be British, and the not American Kathy, who's supposed to be American. And I understand that this stems from the author having been born in Greece and to have lived a portion of his life in England and a portion of his life in America. But if you aren't brought up in that culture, you're never going to be able to truly mimic it, even in your writing, unless you do a ton of research. Again, this is probably just me nitpicking. Actually, it is me nitpicking. But it was just really funny to me because, like, there are some things that Kathy, who's Theo's wife, she says some things and it comes off as very British. And sure, she's half British, but she was brought up in Manhattan. Like, that's about as American as you can get it. Like, my parents were born and raised in California, and I was raised in Alabama, And I'm definitely an Alabamian. I'm not Californian at all. Like, my parents' culture of California is minuscule compared to everyone around me who's from Alabama. So the Alabama culture is there in me. And everything I know about California comes from TV and movies. This is nitpicking, but all that has to be done is have a British person Brit pick it, an American person to, America pick it, to make sure that the American character comes off as American and the British characters come off as British. And I know this is nitpicking and I keep saying that. It's just one of those things where it's kind of bizarre that it was just where it was so blatant that the author was not from England. And it's so funny because I know Dan Simmons is American, and he wrote The Terror, and every character in that book came off as British or Irish or Welsh, because that's what they were. Anyways, I'm done talking about it. Again, that's all just me nitpicking, but the book overall is just meh. The gun in the house and the non-British British people have nothing to do with my overall feelings about this book. It's just, if I don't nitpick these, I'm going to have nothing to say about this book at all for the non-spoilers. I guess the other thing that I can kind of mention without going into a whole lot of spoilers is the twist. But the problem I had with the twist felt very out of character. This book just didn't feel very impressive. It didn't feel like it did anything particularly interesting. Honestly, it kind of feels like the characters were just kind of wasted. Either way, I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. I'm not going to read it again. It's a good sit down and read for an afternoon book, but it wasn't like edge of your seat thrilling. And it's supposed to be a psychological thriller. It was an okay book. That's all I really got to say about it. But now for the spoilers. So this book was like really popular on, I think, Book Talk, honestly, but I don't remember for sure. A lot of people were talking about it a couple of years ago. And I had kind of been spoiled for the ending, but honestly, I didn't remember the ending until probably about 10% till the ending. If I were to go back and reread it, it would be really obvious that it's Theo that's the one that's stalking Gabriel and Alicia, and that all of his storyline with Kathy is in the past. I will say that the timelines being one in the past and one in the present was really well done. That is a spoiler thing though, that's why I've put it over here. Honestly, once the reveal happens, Theo's character it changes a little bit. It's not a ginormous change. It's not a 180 change. He goes from being a character that's looking for the reason, he goes from being Alicia's therapist, looking for the reason why she is the way she is, into, oh my god, she knows things, I have to kill her. And it's like, that made no sense. It's just so crazy because, with all of with everything that happens before Alicia falls into a coma, Theo can get got for stalking, for kidnapping, for assault, or stuff like that. But then at the very end, he tries to kill her, and that's what's going to really get him prison time. Attempted murder, or if she does end up dying in her coma, actual murder, first-degree murder. It's just so frustrating. It was just so out of character. Why would you try and get to the bottom of Alicia's mental illness and then just try to kill her? Why were you trying to get to the bottom of it in the first place? This is why having your point of view character be the person that did it is going to make no sense. It makes no sense, and I just don't like it. It's gonna sound so dumb, but Danganronpa 3, it's Killing Harmony? You have, the first point of view character, that's the one that kills the first guy. And it's a twist, and it's oh, I can't believe she did it. And then we move on to the real protagonist, and it just doesn't make any sense. When did she have time to kill him? We were playing as her the whole time. It just doesn't make sense narratively, is all. There's just too many holes in the story, and it's almost always the main character changing. Like, the tone change that I got from Theo is very, very similar to the tone change that I got when reading the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. The change in the main character, I think her name's Pip, between the second book and the third book is a complete 180 of her character. At the very least, what Theo is doing did seem at least a little bit like what he would do. It's just him attempting to murder Alicia made no sense because of all the work that he did to try and understand her. That's what really, really bothered me. Like, that tone change is the thing that really bothered me. But, I mean, otherwise, the book was just meh. I didn't care about any of it. I didn't care about any of the characters. I read through it because I wanted to know the truth, but not because I cared. And honestly, the pacing of the book is really good. There's so much happening when we're learning about Alicia being stalked, and when we're learning about Theo discovering that his wife is being unfaithful. Like, there's a lot of fast-paced stuff in there, and the timelines side by side was seamless. I didn't care for the characters. I didn't care about what happened to any of them. There's some things that happened that just didn't make sense. I don't really have anything else to add. It was just a kind of average book. It was fine to read. I just didn't care about anything. I also didn't hate anything about it either. Besides the nitpicking in the first half and the tone change that feels very out of character. Otherwise, again, I thought this book was kind of meh. It was okay. Yeah, that's all I've got for this one. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like. And if you're interested in what I have to say about any other books, consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!